starting on. This is the ultimate CMA class. Whoever's watching, watch closely. You could miss something. Patty's over here to go away, but I'll just tell you that's right. All right. The ultimate CMA. I heard this title from some guy on the internet. Here's mine. Okay, we'll sell it to money. And I'm sure it was good. I read something in it, and then I combined my own two cents. I'll start by saying the best CMA for you is yours. Because everybody has it, and everyone said, well, this is how I do it. And I said, fine, that's great. Hallelujah. As long as it works for you. So this is a conversation about what can we do if we're not doing anything else. Making a note, we waited, but we didn't wait to start. Anyway, at least be sure to sign in back there. I know it's a long way over there. But the point is this. This is one of the most important skill sets we have to be good at, or at least somewhat confident at. And our Work Relationship Act, if I were teaching that class, I'd start right out there at the top with the first requirement that says to treat people fairly and honestly and exercise reasonable skill and care. Well, that means we all have some level of competency on some of this stuff we're doing. And yet, I'm talking to someone yesterday that texted me while I was in a meeting and said, call me when you get done. Now, they closed 100 houses last year. And the question was, how should I price this duplex? Now, you'd think somebody after 100 houses last year, not to mention 10 years before that, would have some sense of that. But it comes up. And we wrestled and wrestled and wrestled. With where should we start? We don't have to nail it down. We just need to know, where do we start? And I was fortunate to be able to remind her that she's the one that taught me. She's the one that taught me that you can't underprice a house, she says. Probably it is now. Yeah. I gave you clues, 100. Yeah. But I haven't yet concluded that. I haven't yet concluded it, but she makes a very strong case that if you underprice something, the market will straighten you up. There'll be multiple offers, and they'll be coming in, and they'll be offering more than the asking price and fighting over it, and you have it happen. And so maybe that's true. It could be. I'm sure it is true at some, in many cases, maybe all. I don't know. I can't say if it's not at all. I can't agree 100% yet. So I'm still in research on that. But the point where we start every day, Leslie, is this one? You've seen it. You've heard me say this before. Every day. Joanna's telling me, she says, now, people are questioning my market analysis skills. I said, what is the self-complete? No, it's not. It's the realtors. They don't think I'm offering enough. And I'm doing a CMA, and I'm trying to conclude what it's worth, and we're proposing that, and they're not liking it. So, I mean, that's one of the scenarios where we're dealing with it. We're teaching at Ignite that if you're working with a buyer and they want to make an offer on something, we're supposed to do a CMA, just kind of see, hey, what is the market on this? What would it like to be appraised for, and so on. And so that's one of the times we would do it. But we wake up every day, I'll say it, this is, for those of you that heard this 100 times, it's 101. I know it. But the things we hear over and over, we'll finally internalize. And I believe it's true. I have proven it at least for 40 years. Buyers are paid the least amount of money possible for a property. We start every single day of our career that way. Linda, can you verify back up? Here's a few other decades at. More. That's just the way it is. And then the sellers want to sell their property for as much as they can get. And we start from that position every day. That's why we have job security. Because that dilemma is always playing out every single day. With every transaction. I don't know of one where the seller wakes up and says, you know what, I think I'm going to kind of try to give mine away today. I'm going to try to give you the best I can, see if I can discount 10% and do a community service for someone. I never met that guy. So anyway, I've got a little method. So what I'm saying a while ago, your method's the best. I'll agree with you right now. No need to argue about it. However you're doing it, whatever you're doing it, that's the ultimate CMA for you. All I'm here to do is discuss what could be done and maybe make the case that if we come at the project, the assignment, from several angles, we'll have built a better case, which really ultimately results in a little more confidence in our number. That's what we're complaining about, is that I'm not confident in my number. You know why? Because that realtor questioned it. Okay, but I'd still like to have, I just questioned, what was your method? If yours is excellent, I'd like to know it. Share it with me. And so far, not many have shared with me much more than, listen, I'm going to pull up three sold properties. I might take the time to look at some expireds, probably not. I'm going to probably look at the actives and see what the competition is. But I'm going to draw a conclusion about value based on three comparables. Why three? Because that's what the appraisers need. And why that? Well, because the underwriter over here says, I'm not approving anything unless you at least got three pieces of evidence that give you some reason to think that number. So that's where it's all rooted in. Some underwriter ultimately is going to approve or not approve what that loan package has in it, which includes an appraisal. So when they qualify the buyer with their income and credit and all that stuff, they're qualifying the house with its value proposition too, and that's what that appraiser is doing. So we've got to anticipate as best we can what's that appraiser going to do, because it is important. Here's a client, your buyer's getting ready to spend $500 on an appraisal. Are we putting them in a position of just losing it? And we know it before we start, because the buyer won't take less and it's going to come in low. But so far, Mary, I was looking over to you, and if Mary was in here, I'd look over to her. We had 7,500 low, yeah, 5,000 low in Maryland's over there where Joanna was. Low appraisals, we had 2,500 somewhere else in the room. I don't know where it was. A week or so ago. Yeah, it's Frank. I'm making over right at you. And all those appraisals came in low. I believe all of them closed. The people worked it out. Just say, okay, that must be what it's worth. That's all I can give. We work the terms a little bit and get there. Now, here's my formula, basically. I'm saying I'm going to go to Realist and see what Realist has. It's got a number. I count them all wrong. The numbers that I'm looking at that are automated, I just say, but they're all wrong. But every once in a while, they get one right. And my house, for instance, I've said this a few times recently. Now we had that low appraisal. I fought, hit the screen. I said, that's ridiculous. We went and got another appraisal, and sure enough, he came back with a figure I agreed with. The other guy was using poor comparables, but if I was the general public, I would not have known that. I would have taken a $35,000 low appraisal and thought that's what my house is worth. But since I'm in the business, I knew that was wrong. I didn't know how wrong, but I knew that could be defended based on what he used for comparables. So I'm going to Realist, NAR, RPR, and so on, just to pull up all information, general information. Based on the purchase price they paid, what would the appreciation value be? So there's one of my unique methods is the appreciation calculation. If prices, I show you that vision speech and I show you that line, the prices do this, and that trend line is around 3 to 4% appreciation annually on average, up and down a little bit. Generally, it's a smooth, predictable curve. So if you know what somebody paid for something and it was fair market value, now that's a big if. You don't know if they overpaid, underpaid, what? But you can draw some conclusions about the dynamics of that purchase if you ask enough. Did you buy it new? Well, you paid retail for it if you bought it new. You didn't get a bargain. That's, you didn't steal it. And then you could ask the people, what kind of a deal was this when you bought it? What did it feel like pretty much a fair market value proposition, or did you think you stole it a little bit? And was it in bad shape, good shape, those kind of things. Then, what automated values does Zillow show? And I can demonstrate that Zillow's wrong. Actually, I can take their own words and say that they're plus or minus 8%. But the fact that they exist, and more times than not, the seller has been there and look and see what it says. That's why we need to know it. You can say it's screwed up wrong, it's nowhere near right, but the seller seen it. Most of the time, probably 90% of the time, the seller's looked at that number. And that's what he's basing his calculation on. Where do you get that number, Mr. Seller? Well, my neighbor got this much for his, with Zillow says this. So they're drawing conclusions about the value of the property based on some of that. So I use it. I don't count it, I just pull it up. It's a number. I go to that RPR site. What's that number? It automates. And I can actually refine that number manually myself by going in and choosing comparables and adjusting on each one of them a little bit. I don't use it much anymore. When it first came out, it was a novelty, and I think it's still a good tool. But I haven't used it as much lately just because it takes more work than I want to do. I just like to go to the one-line CMA and draw conclusions. I'm a little lazy, but that's the number of invention. Every good invention came along is because somebody was a little lazy, didn't want to have to work that hard, and they invented something so they didn't have to. This thing's fancy. I don't have to reach over here. I can just walk around with it right here. It's a nice invention. Some lazy guy didn't want to walk over there and run the thing. I'm sure that's why we have one. What automated values the appraisal do? So I just go there to pull up it and Zillow. And I count all these people. They're just wrong, but they are numbers. Now, I want to go to, let me go about 3 pages further here, right here. Like here, it says here, you don't need to know this. I don't know what page it is. It's one of your pages. And 3, 4. You don't need to know this, but it's the root of why I want more than 3 comparables. So I'll just show it to you now. Because ultimately it's basically doing a calculation to see what are the odds, what's the margin when the people that do these political surveys, and they basically conclude that the so-and-so is ahead by 3 points plus or minus 3%. Well, that means it could be even. The other guy could be ahead, or you don't know, but it's plus or minus a percentage. And what they do is take the size of the sample and use square root. Here's the formula. 1 divided by square root equals the margin of error. So you take a sample size of 400. They survey 400 people, ask them a question, and they get the results. And they'll take the square root of 400, which is 20. You got a square root key on your calculator that you don't know what to do with. You don't need to know. But it's there.
It's a good thing.
Yeah, it's there.
It's the way that starts out square root.
Oh my God, no. When I heard that word in high school, I didn't want to hear it again myself.
Don't mess Vicky up.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is
numbers.
1 divided by 20, so they take square root of 420, you take 1 divided by 20, and that's 5%. So that's how they draw, plus or minus 5%. The sample size is 400. The sample size is 4,000. It's a better, it's a tighter margin because it's just a bigger sample size. So the margin of error here, using 3 comparables, is plus or minus 58%. That's my point. So you have to say to the seller, I use 3 comparables, and the margin of error is your house is worth $220,000 plus or minus $129,000.
Ballpark.
Yeah, ballpark. It's in the ballpark. But that's why that is absolutely hilarious. But what I'm saying, when you use the 3 comparables, that's about what you're saying. Here's my scientific method. Plus or minus $128,000. What do you think? Zillow's better than that. So anyway, you don't need to know this. What you need to know is, let's find more than one way to draw a conclusion. Let's find several, go beyond just 3 comparables. So that's why I'm going to Zillow. That's another one. That's why I'm doing depreciation calculation. That's another one. That's why I'm going to appraisal. They may all be wrong, but that's another one. And at the end of the day, if I'm competing out in the marketplace with somebody that just used 3 comparables, I'm going to win. Because I'm going to say, oh yes, that's very important. I do that too. But besides that, I calculated what the house would appreciate for since you bought it between then and now. I calculated that number, and this is what it came to. And then I went to every automated source I could find, including Zillow. I imagine you've been there, haven't you? Yeah, I sure have. Okay, well, I went there too because it's another number. But they admit on their side, at least, that they're nationally plus or minus 8%. So if it's a $200,000 house, they're saying, well, we think it's worth this much plus or minus $16,000, which is a $32,000 variable. I can drop, you just give me the address, Betty, and I can get that close without looking at anything. You can too, if you've sold very many houses, and they say, well, it's in this neighborhood, it's this big. You can get closer than 32,000. So that's the thinking. So that's why I'm going through all these steps. I'm looking at realist and all the, what's there. There are numbers there. I'll show them to you a little bit. But let's use them. Because at the end of the day, I'm looking to see if any of them agree. I'm going to put quite a bit of weight on the CMA. The 3 comparables and my conclusions there. But ultimately, is there anything else that helps me defend that number? And that's what Sandy and I were doing yesterday. She has a duplex on the north side of town that she's getting ready to put on the market. Very nice, she says, very nice. But it's got a 2-car garage, except it's shared by both parties. It's a 2-bedroom, 2.5, each side of the duplex. 2-bedroom, 2.5 over here, 2-bedroom, 2.5 over here. The back side of it's got a 2-car garage. They share.
That's weird. That's real.
And there it is, Lori. That's why now I don't know.
One garage?
Well, they share a 2-car garage, so they each have a 1-car garage parking space right beside each other.
They wouldn't want to share it with me.
Not when you're parking in the middle. Yeah. That's why she can't have all those poles in the garage. That's where she parked, right there. But that's the challenge, and we pulled comparables up, and there weren't many, but there were some, ranging from 225,000 to 450.
Oh my gosh.
In the same about 3 miles square. So what do? Well, you got to do more. So we sat there and, battling around, looked at stuff, just pulled up, just what could you buy that's a 2-bedroom, 2.5 bath, 1 car of any kind. And one of those, and they didn't help us much, but they helped us a little. And there were some condos that were ridiculous price, $400,000 for 1,700 square feet, because this building's 3,500 feet. And so we pulled up 17. Let's just take a half of that and see if we can figure out what that is. And there was $400,000, 2-bed, 2.5 bath, 1-car garage.
Wow.
Condos. So that's what happens. It's so nice when we get a conforming house in a conforming area that's just where there's turnover, and we can just find 3 comparables, and they're handy, and they're all within a 10% margin. There's the other thing. What is comparable? Right here, I run the MLS for the unsolds. That's, by the way, an intentional word. Not actives. They're unsold. That's what we ought to call them. Oh, the unsold houses are listed for this. Not the actives. That sounds like somebody's looking at them. I got a few that ain't looking. Nobody looking at them. They're not active. They're just like this. Sitting. They're sitting. That's exactly right. I'll get to that page here shortly. And then, so within 10% of the subject matter. So apply the 10% rule. That's my, ideally. it's within 10% plus or minus size-wise. So say it's a 3,000-foot property, 300 feet plus or minus. That's my search range. That is comparable. Now, in the perfect, Mars, I understand we go to Mars, all the comparables are within the 10% range. It's easy over to Mars, because they're there. But here on Earth, I get out there and there's not, 300 feet, there's nothing showing. I gotta go to 600 to find anything. So we do here on Earth, we gotta get outside the 10% range once in a while if nothing's showing, and move outside of it. But just for the standpoint of what's comparable, that's the range, about 10% plus or minus on the size and the age. Then you do the same thing with the sold. So we're running unsolds, solds, plus or minus 10% of what it is, and then the pendings. So I'm pulling all those three sources, and then the rule of thumb on appreciation. Average of the unsold properties, average of the sold properties, and an average of the pending sales and divided by 4 at least can give you a number. Now, I usually do actually run the calculation. I'll say, when did you buy it? What did you pay? And then I know enough, because I mean, nobody's bought it over 40 years ago. So I can go back in my mind and think, well, okay, what was going on when they bought that? And so when we have somebody say, well, I bought mine in 2006 or 2007, I am aware, traumatized by the radio saying Countrywide is going under, they're selling to Bank of America. My son worked at Countrywide then. That's why it mattered a lot to me, that morning, heading to work. So that was 2007, August, fall of 2007. So we had very, very little appreciation in 7, maybe a little, but none in 8, none in 9, none in 10, and none in 11. So that's all for right now. Most of us just have to remember. Just for those 4 years, there was just flat. We were flat, if not dropping a little in terms of our values. So you can't add 3% appreciation if they bought it in 2006 or 7. You can't add any appreciation until 2012. But then you can start adding. From 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, you can add about 3% a year, and it's fair. So
I started selling wines in 2008.
Yeah.
I mean, I did. I was like, either sink or swim, do something.
Yeah, you're gonna have to eat somewhere. And thank you for doing that. She's done some nice work for us along the way. Know something about blinds if you didn't know about it. Knows how it's supposed to fit and where you can get them. But ultimately, that rule of thumb on appreciation, then calculate plus or minus 5% for a solid range. That's another point. People are asking for a price. We don't need to give them a price. We need to give them a price range. And it basically comes down to, well, what's the rest of the story, Mr. Summer? What do you need? Why are you selling? And when do you need to be moved? And if you've got any kind of time pressure at all, we're not going to work from the top end. We're going to work toward we're going to discount a little, 1, 2, 3%, depending on the urgency. But that's why it's basically saying plus or minus 5% to give us a range, a price range. Let them pick what part of the range you want. Now, they want the high end of the range, but they got a time problem. They should know that your time issue is going to affect your price, or it should. And that's what any house you got that's not selling, I suggest you drop that thing 25%, and I'll guarantee you it'll be sold by Saturday. And there's a solution to every property that's not selling. Nobody will accept it. They'll drop it 2%, 3%, maybe 5%. I mean, 5%. That's $10,000. Don't you know? Yeah, I can add. But ultimately, we can solve those problems. Just drop 50%. You don't want to take any risk at all. Drop it to half price. Now, I'm making my point. It's ridiculous, but it is really actually right. You can sell this thing, you just have to give it a good enough price. I don't care how much it smells or how ugly it is. So that's the thing from them, and that, tell people, God, yeah, I've got to guarantee myself. We got some realtors out there running ads. Becky Island's every Saturday morning, and her over here in Norman. I'll buy. We don't sell it, we'll buy it. I guarantee you, I'll buy it for what he's paying.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because it's pre-negotiated.
One that he's listed that I know.
Pardon me?
He has
There's
a
not,
the
no,
ones he
there's
listed.
nobody's
he
gonna
did not
stop
buy.
for that. But, I mean, it's less than wholesale.
Exactly.
But I mean, where'd I learn that? Well, ERA, years ago, worked there for Bob Lynn back in '89. And they had a guarantee program. We didn't sell it, we'll buy it. But you ended up paying about 70% by the time we said, well, here's what our selling costs are gonna be. We're gonna have to pay a commission, we're gonna have to fix that, we're gonna have to fix that, we're gonna have to do that, we're gonna have to pay all the title work, we're gonna have to do all this. So by the time you take what their retail figure and work it down to what the selling costs are, and then calculate a margin in there to take some risk, and then calculate some unknowns. Because every time I see one crack, there's another problem behind it. So I gotta double it, what I think that's gonna cost, and by the time you get down, it's 70% or so. And most of us, if we had an opportunity to buy a $200,000 house for 30% off, what is that, 30 times 2, 60,000 off. We could be tempted. I might, what would that be, 140? Give 140 for a 200. And I don't tend to keep it, I'm just gonna spray some of that stuff in there that kills the odor.
Throw out the cat.
Throw the cat, take the cat with you, and I'm gonna get that spray. And so that's what they're doing. They're basically saying, sure, I'll buy it, but then in terms of not where no one will take them up on it because they didn't call them for that. And so, anyway. Right, been through all that. After the MLS calculations, the depreciation calculation complete, review all your numbers, including the automated estimates, to see if there's any common thread. If several of the automated and calculated figures are in the same ballpark, you can feel confident you can make a stronger case. So that's where I'm heading. I want to see if anything else will back. If my appreciation calculation and my MLS calculation agree, that's better than the competition did. And I can go in and say, well, I did it from this angle, and those two numbers were agreeing. Now, you may be wanting this, but this evidence is pretty strong. The last guy you talked to, he came from the CMA angle, so I found 3 comparables, and so did I. But then in addition to that, I did my other calculations. And then I would go further and say, by the way, I went to Zillow, I went to another e-appraisal, I went to Realist, I went to 5, 6 different sources. I let these stupid automated machines draw their conclusions. They have not smelled your house or looked at it. I'm standing here. I've got a better perspective than they do. There's a reason why mine is going to be better than 8% plus or minus, because I'm on the front porch at least. If I'm standing on the front porch, I know more than they do. Because you can't see much from 30,000 feet. That's kind of what they're doing. They're just flying over, drawing a conclusion, and it's amazing they get as close as they do. But they're just pulling, from 4 or 5 different sources. All right, so this is what I said a while ago. What's a comparable? I mentioned is plus or minus 10%. But you may have to go past 10. Might have to go to 15, maybe as much as 20, but don't go more than 20% variance on the price tag or the age. Just otherwise, you're not comparing apples to apples. You need to go outside and start stretching your, so that I can put this next one. Similar bedrooms and bathrooms, garage. Similar improvements or lack of improvements. This is a 10 or a 2 on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of what it is. And if you're comparing a 2 to a 10, you're not comparing a comparable. So it comes down to that wholesale retail difference. Similar construction material, number of levels, same school districts. That's comparable. But that's where we might have to stretch outside of it. Let's look here. Okay, there it is. What if there are no ideal comparables? Oh my God, that's why we're standing here.
Yeah.
That's why Joanna couldn't. When are you going to have that day in class, for God's sake? These things don't come up. They aren't comparable. There's no comparables after Don, you stupid 10% formula is crazy. All right, so the first thing we do, extend the age difference a little. Go ahead and expand the age difference a little. Then the square footage. Let's, if you're in within 10%, we'll take it to 15 and see if anything comes up on the radar. Go to 20 if you have to, but don't go past that because you're probably outside of it. Then your search area, take the map and just start pulling it out until something starts showing up on it.
How far?
However far you need to.
5 miles.
Yes, 5 miles, maybe 20.
Stratford.
No, I'm not sure.
But I mean, that's what the appraiser has to do. You ask yourself, how does the appraiser ever arrive at a value on these things? That's all they can do, is just keep expanding the area. You got a horse ranch right over here on Western on 20 acres, and there's no other horse ranch on 20 acres anywhere than, 100 miles. Well, where is one?
Yeah.
And you got to go find something. Somebody bought one somewhere, and where is it? If it's in Oklahoma, at least we can look at it and say, well, some idiot paid this for one over here in Pratt or someplace, So I'm exaggerating a little bit, but ultimately, at the end, I've got a safety valve in case you can't find anything. There's nothing. Our Sandy scenario yesterday. What do we do? So then, search area, the timelines. The underwriters want ideally 6 months. They actually want 90 days. But they'll take 6 months and they'll consider that comparable still. That's a challenge for us. When we're pulling market, our prices are going up, and if 6-month-old information, we're out of date. But that appraiser still can use it to justify his figure, rather than the buyer, he's justifying his figure based on what he's seen. He's actually looking at the unsolds. Remember, not the actives, the unsolds. He's looking at those and drawing a conclusion about the value proposition and which one's the best choice. He's not looking at sold properties. That's why we got to look at those. Now, you guys know this answer, but how many properties does a person look at generally across the country before they buy one? I got 11, what? 10, yeah,
Are you
okay.
talking about on the internet or in person?
Before they buy, I don't care where it is, but in person.
11,000 on the internet.
Yeah.
Right.
And 11 in person.
Yeah, in person, they walked in, smelled it, 10. That survey, NAR survey, it's been 10 for 3 straight years in a row that they look at 10 houses before they buy one on average, out of a sample of 77 or 800 people surveyed in the last year. So that's the best data I have, but it's been consistent now for 3 years. Prior to that, it was 12. So who cares, huh? 4 years ago, who cares? But I just happen to still remember, that's all, I can't help myself. But here's the deal, 6 months, go to 7, go to 8, go to 9. Now, I would say you broaden your other parameters a little first so that they're most recent. But if you're not finding something at 6 months, you don't have 3 comparables. Stretch it to 7, stretch it to 8. I go 12. I go 12 often because my job at this point is to get in the ballpark. I am not having to defend it when it comes to the underwriter. The appraiser does, and I hope I can make a case for the appraiser if he comes back and says, hey, I don't think I can reach that. I'd like to be able to say, well, here's how I drew the conclusion I got. And furthermore, we've got a buyer on it. Signed, sealed, delivered, as you can see. That's evidence of the market. Somebody said yes. And so we have them disagree with 7,500, 5,000, 2,500 once in a while. But a buyer said, I'll take it because he looked at everything else. And but the appraiser, he's not looking at anything else that's for sale, and he probably draw the same conclusion. He's just not doing that. That's what the problem. So they extend it all out to here. Then there's that thing you don't even need to know about. But it makes the case that just do more than find 3 comparables and draw the conclusion. Unless you live in the neighborhood, you just know here's what they bring. But ultimately, factors to consider. What is it? What's location? It is what it is. You are not moving. all people that I'd like to take this house and pick it up and take it over, that's what. Don't talk stupid, that's not, you can't do that. Take a picture.
You know, and I saw a lot of houses that people loved their house, but they didn't like, that's why they moved the
Location.
for a different location.
Yeah, actually, I don't like the neighbor.
Yeah.
That guy, that's why I'm moving.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I love my house, that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Condition, the owner can't influence that. He's got something to say about it. He hasn't got anything to say much about location now that he owns it. Upper and lower price records for the area. What's the highest sale ever happened over here? And are we going to challenge the market? That's the term I have on one of these others. That's what when they open price. We're going to challenge the market. We're going to buy a guy and go for a new record. And that's literally words I'm saying to the folks when they're disagreeing with me a little bit on pricing. I say, well, now in the area where you live, I know you have the biggest house. That's usually the problem. I know you have the biggest house, but that is not necessarily a positive because ultimately you're going to set a record anyway, probably because you just the biggest house.
How long it's on the market?
Yeah. The record goes big. We keep all kinds of records. That's one of them. We can count how many houses don't sell. One of the ways we do a market evaluation is to pull expireds up. And by the way, I'm not kidding. Figure out what it takes not to sell one of them. That's worth something. It's worth knowing. What did people do that didn't sell their houses, and do we want to do that or something different? Upper and lower, what's the bottom end and the upper end? So if you're saying on a scale of 1 to 10, Mr. Seller, where would you place yours? Is it on this group of properties that the fixer-upper hardly able to be lived in, or the finest, nicest home in the area? Where is yours on a scale of 1 to 10, and let them pick something? And so then your pricing position, that shopping cart thing I've said several times. Remember it at all? So, yeah, the shopping cart, Walmart. You can hear it. You remember now, Lisa? Yeah, Walmart. I'm in Walmart. Yep, I got 60 people in line. 60 people are for sale. I'm up against 60 people for sale that have a house like mine in my same area. And they're selling it 10 a month, meaning I'm letting 10 people a month out of Walmart to get to check out. And so that conversation is, well, this is what we are. We're in a line of 60 people at the cash register, waiting to get out, and you're cashing out 10 people a month. And now, do you want to be toward the front of the line or the middle or the end? Because if we take all, and nothing else comes on the market, it will be 6 months by the time you get out here. Now, they can relate to that scenario. Every one of us can relate to that scenario, but that's actually what's kind of going on. That's absorption rate. We're absorbing the inventory at this pace. It's going to take this many months to get it sold out. And that pace tells us a little bit about whether you're at an advantage in the market, Mr. Seller, or a disadvantage. And so if you're under 6 months supply, you may have a slight advantage over the buyers, or at least you have, there may be fewer sellers than buyers in the marketplace. But when you get down to 3 months supply, which is kind of what we have now, sellers have a distinct advantage. At least under 250,000 probably right now. You would say, I think probably agree. Under 250,000, there's not much to look at. What you do look at stinks a little. There's not much to choose from. And so you take what you can get. And if you don't, it'll be gone too. We're going to show you the best ones first. But people are looking at 10 of them. And out of the 10, there is always 2 best ones. And the reason we know that is because the other 8 help us make that determination. So that comes back to what 2 kinds of properties on the market. I don't have it on here. I should probably throw it into the CMA class. 2 kinds of properties on the market. Remember what they are?
Sitting, selling.
No, that's some of it. I'm not there
Sitting,
yet.
showing, selling.
No, that's 3. No, 2 kinds. Well, so I got 3, but 2.
Sold and unsold.
All right, here. Oh, yeah, I heard this. The ones that are priced right in good condition, and the rest of them that help them sell. Those are the 2 kinds of properties on the market. That makes sense. And if you're looking at 10, there's probably 2 of them that are being sold by the other 8. The other 8, they're looking at it and saying, oh, no. We're saying to them every time they walk out, well, which one, what's the one to beat now? Is this better than the last one we looked at? No, okay. How about this one? Is it better than the last one we looked at? It's the best one we got to beat? No. So they're narrowing it down as we go, as we show the houses. We show them 10, and they're going to say, well, that one, and maybe just this one, are the best ones. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt, there might be 2. I actually want 2, so that I can say to that seller, we're considering a couple pieces of property. We thought we'd just open the dialogue with you guys first to see if we can come to agreement. And if we can come to agreement, we'd be thrilled about it. But if not, it's no problem really. We got another option that we think is pretty good. And we could go to and maybe put a little paint on it. It will be up to par about with yours. I'd love to have that up, and if I have to make it up once in a while, I'm tempted to do it. Because I don't want that seller to think you're the only house on earth for me. Because he isn't coming down, in fact, he's going to raise the price on me. He thinks I can't dare tell him that grandma lives next door. And thank God for the Broker Relationship Act, where we have to keep things confidential. You can't tell them without permission in writing. All right, shopping cart theory, that's the Walmart story. And I would use that to, with your conversation with the seller. So listen, I've done my calculations. I did the appreciation calculation. I ran the unsold property to see what they were. I looked at the pennies. I looked at the sold property. I ran the automated stuff, pulled Zillow. I ran the RRPR. You don't have access to that. Don't worry, it's just for realtors. Pulled a appraisal. It's wrong every time, but it is at least got a number on it just to make sure I didn't miss something. And then ultimately, I did my shopping cart theory, which is kind of an absorption calculation. And I've drawn some conclusions there. Now tell me about the other realtor. You were telling me they were telling you it's worth this. Did they give you any sense of how they arrived at that? I probably did. They didn't go to all that trouble. It's no trouble. It didn't take much time, but I mean, that's the difference. And so here's the deal. It used to be when we go to our listing presentations today, I got the thing still at home. I could probably bring it up, probably 25 years old. But in my presentation, I had every certificate I ever got from CE credit class. And so if everything was equal, I'd start showing them my certificates and say, my God, did that other guy have any of these CE classes? I don't. Well, sure he did, but he didn't bring the certificates. I did. I got proof here. I got some classes on CMAs. Did he? So when everything else is different, how do I differentiate? Sometimes it's just my stupid certificate. And we're just stacking qualifications up until I win. And so I'm just going to keep stacking until I win because if I'm in a competitive situation. The reality is 70% of the time, it's more than that with sellers, 73% of the time they only interview one of you. So 70% of the time, buyers and sellers both, buyers are caught up now, they only interview one realtor. And sellers interview one realtor 70% of the time, 7 out of 10 times. So only 3 times out of 10 are you going to even be in a competitive situation. And so they're going to hire you if you're there. Now you need to be right, or at least close. And let them know there's no such thing as an exact price. Because I haven't met the buyer yet. In fact, I need to know more about your degree of urgency. Your urgency dictates the price. And it might not be urgent today, but you might wake up tomorrow, lost your job, some other dynamic happened, and all of a sudden now the price is different. Because your dynamic is different. So, your job in pricing the property. Present the seller with the data and facts needed to make an informed decision. And caution them about overpricing. Just give them the facts. Here's what I came up with. And all these various calculations. And then if the seller insists on, there's the words, challenging the market, you have a professional decision to make. And it comes back down to, why are they moving? What is the urgency, if any? If there's no urgency, I just want to see what I can get. And they're 5 or 6% over what you think you can get it, and on a good day. It's a business decision now. Am I going to invest my time and life into this? Yes or no? Now, if you don't have any other listings, you won't have that conversation with yourself. You're just going to take the stupid thing and see what you can do. But if you've got 5 other listings and they're already calling you saying, what are you going to do, Frank? What are you going to do, Frank? What are you going to do, Frank? You might say, I don't know if I'm in on this one. I've already got 4 of those. Yeah. I mean, it's that kind of the attitude, though. I mean, you're not saying that to them, you're just thinking to yourself, how many overpriced listings do I want? And we are going to take some. That's how they increase. They all seem to be overpriced a little bit initially, but they do climb at a rate of 3% a year, or maybe sometimes more. If it's 6% a year, that's what, half percent a month. So, I mean, it's, what's a 0.5% of 2,000? That's $1,000. $200,000 if it's going up 1%, it'd be what? Well, that'd be 2,000. I can't do math in my head.
We're all looking at you like, okay.
You're wrong. Okay, yeah, I can throw any number out there.
What's the square root of that?
That's right. Now, that's the thing, worth coming to the class for, because you understand that even square root has some place in the conversation in real estate. So that doesn't.
So in the listing presentation, we said, well, I took the square root of.
Yeah, I took the square root of it. I figured out.
They're like, wow, she's
Plus or
smart.
minus. That's it. That's it, because nobody else in town is going to even use the word.
Going with the smart one, she took a square root.
That's right. Now, but that's it. The point I'm trying to make with that is just use as much data as you can find. Don't stop with the 3 comparables, but you might want to throw that in there once in a while. I did the calculation, I had to do the square root thing.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
We'll all try that next listing thing, and if we all get it, we'll keep it secret. I'll say square root.
And personality fits with that too, because if you got that personality, you guy that loves all the numbers and you have to do that.
But then you might remember, you know, you're an idiot, and it's square root, so no.
No, but you can say, listen, I'm trying to get the plus or minus down to as small a figure as I can get, is using as much data as I can. And so, I mean, that's why, and you could say, it would be crazy. Wouldn't it be crazy if I were to tell you your house is worth 200,000 plus or minus 128,000? That's what I would be essentially telling you if I used 3 comparables like that other guy did. You'd laugh. What do you mean 100 plus or minus 120,000? Well, that's margin of error of 50-some%, because you're only using 3 comparables if you're using statistics. So anyway, you just know enough to make that argument for it and then move on. Thanks, you can't hurry up and get conversation. Now, there's other ways to draw, come up with a market, conclusion. Formal appraisal. You say, listen, let's put some of your money where your mouth is. I have had some experience. Use my story if you like. I have had some experience out here off of Sunday Lane not so many years ago. Well, we did do this. Appraisal put up at that time it was $425, I believe. And the lady put the amount up. We got the appraisal. We couldn't sell for that. We did not sell for that. It ended up selling for like 20,000 less. The market was a little weak, and this was down in around 2008 or so. So the market was soft enough to where we had a little bit of trouble, but we couldn't get it. But most of the time we can defend our price, because what we can say is we can at least get a loan amount for this. We have an appraisal. We paid $400 some odd. You can borrow our appraisal if it'll do you any good, Mr. Buyer. We'll let you have it. And what we know is if your lender will use this appraiser, we know what the loan amount will be. You don't have to worry about it. We've got it established. It's good for 6 months. So, formal appraisal. What the seller needs or wants, that's one way to come up with a figure. What do you want for this thing? That's what I told Sandy yesterday. What does he want for it? He told me he didn't know, and she threw him a figure out there, and he didn't flinch much. I said, well, he'll accept 300. Because he didn't flinch. He didn't have a painful look in his face when he threw the number out. Okay, what the neighbor said he got, that's another way. None of these are very good. There's one, the swag method, we call it.
That's my favorite.
That's the one we use. This is a scientific, wild, and I can't even say the word guess. Now, we got people doing that, I'm convinced. When I see that's part of what they might be doing, Joanna, when they say, well, I don't agree with yours, because they did the swag approach themselves. And they just pulled a figure out of the air, or maybe it's a combination. What the seller said, what said he wanted in this wild approach, that's the number. Study expired listings to see what it takes not to sell. So, I mean, there's another place. We don't pull the expireds up. But I think it's a good place to look, just to see what did it take not to sell one of these. And then sometimes it's a condition problem, but it's still a price problem. Condition, price, or married. So now I'm going to get to this. I have a little more time here. So we're going to do a little sample here. We're going to have some time. Now at the end, and I've improved my PowerPoint after I ran the copies. So you can make a note if you want. You know this already. Who was it? It was Leslie over here, I think, that threw me out the sitting, showing, selling thing. Worst case scenario. That's what I told Sandy. Not that I'm right, but we just agreed. I said, Sandy, if you put it on the market and it just sits, nobody looks, you're overpriced. And you're overpriced 3 to 5% or more. That is I can almost bank on that. Nobody's looking. So you're out of range at least 5, probably at least 3%. So that's the conversation with the seller. Mr. Seller, I see we have no traffic. We've been on the market for almost 3 weeks now. No one's looked. We call that sitting in our industry. It's sitting. Or you could say the industry, the marketplace is looking at it kind of like a cow at a funny new gate. Curious. Wonder what's inside that thing that could be worth that much. Curious. Then, or it's showing. It shows and shows and shows. But no second looks and no offers. Those are overpriced properties, but not as bad. That's the good news. It could be just 1%, but somewhere between 1 and 3% is you're out of range there, and that's the formula. So this is the good news. Screw it up all you want to. You don't even run the thing. Just throw a price tag on, throw it on the market, and then adjust because you're going to know pretty soon. Now the problem is nobody wants to listen to what that market's saying. It speaks English, by the way. No, thank you. That's what it's saying. Nobody's looking. That's no thank you. They're looking. Maybe. Probably not. Maybe. Or they're looking at the property. They're coming back for second showings. There are offers coming in. That's selling. But it might not be for what you're asking. But if you've got 2 to 3 proposals that are all a little bit low, but in the same ballpark, that's the market speaking. Here's about what they think it's worth. And depending on whether they help with closing costs or not, but the net number is still going to come in about the same place. So that's why this is the salvation for all of us. We can miss it, they can miss it, but the marketplace will, and these are the words, the marketplace is never wrong. You may not agree with it, but it is never wrong. It doesn't just wake up and be stupid. It just isn't. The marketplaces are those people that are looking at 10 properties every day and making a decision on 2 of them, or 1 of them. Now, that's the last slide. Let's go look at some of how this might work a little bit, just for fun. You have all this except for the little notes there at the end. I added the 1 to 3% part. And so let me just pull this down and shrink it down a little bit. Let me see what I got here. Let's see. I'm going to pull up let me see, what's this? Nope, that's for tomorrow night. Let me go. I want to see. Well, let's just pull up. I'm going to pull up a property that I already pulled up earlier, just to use it as a sample. And it's over in the neighborhood. I already did the CMA or not. That's been 1.5 years or 2 years ago. But I still just have it as clean sample. So I've gone to NARRPR, and I just put the address in under, if I went home, I just put the address in. On RPR, if you ever put the address in and do a search for 30 days, it'll just save it for you. So I just save myself the trouble of typing it in again. And this property then comes up and says, it's, according to the realtor value model, RVM, not AVM. AVM is automated value market or whatever. R means realtor value, which means it's pulling from MLS data to draw its conclusion. If it does not have an R right there, it is not pulling from MLS data, only county records and stuff like that. That's where it's pulling from. So with a confidence level of almost 5 stars on NARRPR, pretty high confidence level. They're saying, well, somewhere between 274 and 228, 5 stars, it don't get any higher than that. That's their range. Now, my sellers want to know closer than that, what it is. The machinery came up with 301,760. I've been in and monkeyed around with it, and I've concluded with the market analysis I did back in April of 2017. That's not what it's worth today. But when I went in and refined and worked and whatever, I came up to 289 or 290 on that property that day. And then, you know, I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with that. I mean, there's the property, sets on 3/4 of an acre, 2,440 square feet. Let's see. Now, we got a shed on the property. You know how people love sheds. Summers especially. But anyway, I'm just sitting there on wood planks, I think. But anyway, that's where it is, and, you know, we got all kinds of data here. Have you seen, Lisa, this RPR thing yet? Okay, very good, very good. I won't go into much detail. But that is one source. Now, let's look at, I haven't looked at these yet, I don't think. Let me get, let's see, that's 300. Let me just pull this.
Did you sell that house?
Nope.
Did it?
We never did come on the market.
Oh,
They talked about moving and decided against it. So, but I probably, if they ever move, we'll probably put it on.
Put in one for me that I've got on the market right now in that area, pretty close distance.
All right, as soon as I finish what I'm doing.
Okay.
For Oklahoma. Now I go to eappraisal.com and I know it's wrong. However, what it is going to tell me is Zillow.
You don't have to log into Zillow.
That's exactly right, Joanna. See, here's a person that came over here to get this class and she already knew this stuff. Now look here. Zillow says 289, 138. What figure did I have back in 289 something? But that was back a few years ago. It was 2 years ago. But there's two numbers that kind of agree a little bit. Now, appraisals look stupid.
yeah.
But you know what they're doing? They're pulling data from not Windermere, but from Carriage Park and across the street in Leaf Crest, I guess it is, whatever. I mean, inferior areas, and
I've never used heat
Drawn.
appraisal. I mean, so it's not based on appraisals? It's not like
no,
appraisal suite or?
It's
Nope.
just the names.
it's just a place to go for an automated number. I go to get this one. It just saves me one step of going to have to go to Zillow. But I need this number, my seller. He is going to have seen this. They'll see this. They're on that Dan's estimate. It'll be every month or so, it'll give them, here's what your house is worth, here's what your house is worth. And they're drawing conclusions based on that number. You need to know what they think based on that thing. And here let's see if I got a place where I can find it. This, I always forget how to get to, there, let me see. Where is it? Right here. No. I need to go to Zillow. That thing, give me it. Let me just see if I can go to Zillow. Because I need to try to show you how to prove that it's wrong, or at least not accurate. You know, right in here, this little thing comes up, a little hand comes up under whatever their figure is. You click on that, and then it says, it's some stuff. Learn more about estimates. There's a little old blue thing right there. The very bottom of that little pop-up. And when it goes, then it talks about, the rents and the various things. Let's see, where is it?
You're in the rent.
I'm in the rent
On the
one.
rent one,
I'm in the rent one.
because it's off market.
Yeah, but it would still say, come
I
on.
think if you just hover over estimate, your rent there.
Right there.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I was on rent testing. That's it. Home at 300 today's worth, so on. When you click on this, and it's a learning curve for me every time I do this, but it does kind of describe. They've got 100 million properties are pulling from a database, and how accurate is this estimate?
Does it start with square root?
No, it might end with it, but here it comes. And it basically says, okay, well, in these areas, let's see if I've got Oklahoma City. They're not all there. But let me just pull states. It just has, some of the ones in the town. States, and down I go to Oklahoma, and we'll click on Oklahoma. And then it's going to, tell me what county. Well, let's just, I want Cleveland or Oklahoma, just so it's relevant.
That's where alphabetical.
I think they were good.
Brief.
Everybody.
Well, there's Oklahoma. Now, it's saying here that homes in Zillow, 287,000. Homes with Zesta, 256,000. Now, here's what it says. Within 5% of sales price, 57% of them are within 5%. About half of them actually get within 5%. Now, here's the deal. 10%. 75% of them are within 10%. 86% of them are within 20%. Median, here it is. Median margin of error, 4.1%. They had to use their square root calculation to get that. But ultimately, overall, when you take all of those, it's about 4% off. Okmulgee County is 20%, 12, 24. So Oklahoma County is more accurate because they got a lot of information to pull from. And Cleveland County, I don't know where, here it is. Finally, there it is. So 94,000 in Cleveland County, 63%, 77. They're not much different, but similar.
How come we got 4 stars?
Because it's accuracy.
More accurate.
4 stars is basically, I've got a lot of information to pull from, and it's agreeing with it. I mean, it's a lot of the information is agreeing. Call it county records. They're probably this is Zillow, so they are pulling from MLS records. And so, but this is where you can go to say, gosh, they're about as confident as they can get in Cleveland County where you live. But ultimately, they're actually saying that to get within 10%, 78% of the time, they'll get within 10% of right. Nationally, it's plus or minus 8%. See, it says within 10%. It doesn't say 10%. It's plus or minus 10%. We've got to remember that. That's a 20% range, not a 10% range. They're going to make it sound better than it is. But plus or minus, so minus 10%, plus 10%, $200,000, that's $40,000 variable. We've got to get better than that. So that's why we're not relying on it, Mr. Seller. We use it, I pull it up, I see what it is. Sometimes I hit it. In my particular house, they actually nailed it 3 months ago. But that's the first time since I've been watching 14 years that they got it right. So that's my story. I mean, I just tell this story because they actually do hit it once in a while. And
I guess I don't understand. It's homes on Zillow.
yeah,
At the top, and this is, you go down there and it says 102.
that's number 1,000. So there's 103,000 properties in Cleveland County on Zillow. And 95,000 of them have Zestimates. Not all of them have a Zestimate, but
So that's-
95,000 of them
That
do.
means they're all for sale. There's 103,000 homes in Cleveland County for sale right now?
No, no, they're not for sale.
Okay,
No, they're just available. I mean, they just exist.
okay.
They're not for sale, and some of them might be. But these are just, that's how many that are in their database in Cleveland County that they're pulling numbers from. And these are the number that they actually have a Zestimate, they did pull numbers on, and have a Zestimate going out to 94. So that's the reason we gotta pull this up and know what the number is 95% of the time. The sellers got one.
I couldn't believe there's 13,000 houses in Oklahoma for sale. I was like, really?
Yeah, well, that's all the houses they got.
Right there.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and they may all be for sale. I don't know if we're in Oklahoma or not. All right. But that's, where am I? Oh, I probably ought to, let me see. Here, where am I? Okay, anyway, that's where I was at that. And then this is the other number on, this is RPR. So I'm pulling from all those. And they're, actually Zillow hits this number almost exactly. Now that's an old number. I did it in 2017 in April on the 19th. So that's what's handy about this. And I can go back in here now and edit it again and pull up current comparables. So I've done those. Now let's go to the MLS. And let's see, keep going on. Where are you right there? Let's see what I got. Okay, I pulled up the real list. Let's just look at the, yeah, I want to continue. Here are the data on that property. See, when I know which one I'm going to, I can make this a lot more efficient. But there it is. And it's 2,440 feet, as I said. 2001. Here's a number. Estimated value, 301,178. So I got a, what I have, 294, 290, 289, so 290. Now I got a 300, but it's in that range. And then I can see that he bought it in 2001 because that was the lot value.
Right.
38.5 was what he paid for the lot. And then they built it. And it sits on that lot, and that's about where it is, and that's all the information I've got. I could look while I'm at it, see if it could have looked on the other. But that's where it is. So then I run let me see if this one's, yeah, I run just the area. Pull up Windermere Estates.
That close.
And there are 76 properties in the area, and there's nothing in here that's comparable. Pardon me?
What are you doing on this one?
This one is just my CMA for the neighborhood. I pulled up,
Quick stats, what are you at? Where you at?
I'm in the CMA thing, so let me just show you.
MLS search.
Yeah, under quick search right here. When I open it up, you've seen this screen. When I get to here,
And then you
I
just
put-
asterisk down
I went down here and put an asterisk in front and behind of Windermere Estates.
and put the zip maybe, since there's several Windermere.
Yeah, I did. But then and it pulled up some data. It looks like this one. Well,
So legal additions where you were at.
yeah, legal addition. Now, you can see here, I got 2,440 square foot house, 2001. Well, built 2004, 3, 1, 2, 2. So they're all within the age range I could use. They're all 3 or 4 bedrooms. I don't differentiate between 3 and 4 bedrooms. I mean, why? Brian Queen came over in our old training room, and 2 other appraisers from all of them said the same thing. If it's 2,400 feet, 3 bedroom, or 4 bedroom, it's just personal preference, and I don't add any for an extra bedroom or less bedrooms. Now, if it's 2 bedrooms, I do adjust a little for that because the demand for 2 bedrooms is substantially less than it is for 3 or 4. But preference is, because if you got a 4 and you only need a 3, you can use that for storage or an office or overflow or guests or something. But if you only need a 3, you might take a 3 or a 4 you want. All of them have 3 baths. 2 living areas, dining areas, some of them. Now, look here though. 2443, there's one. Now, I know the story on that one, but it only brought, what was that? Sold.
Yeah, you to be sure.
I lost my mind. Oh, here it is. Yeah, that property is literally right down the street from it. St. Windermere Springs. It was August of 2017. It's over 6 months ago. I had to go back 12. It had a little building in the back, actually a nicer building than this one in the back, and it was 2,443 square feet. It brought 294.9. Now, Zillow says 290 or so. What was that another calculation?
No, that just
is
says
RTR.
list price, it doesn't say sold price.
So prices off to the right.
Oh, that's right.
You
It's that over here.
didn't scoot it over.
All right.
Your bid
Fine.
They
price-
adjusted it down.
Oh, here. Let me just do it this way.
Yeah.
But you can't see it now, can you?
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
See it?
Anyway, it brought $121 a foot roughly. That was in
294.
August.
294, so price.
294.9.
So it brought the list price.
294.9 to 295.
They adjusted it down from 309 and then it sold,
Yeah.
right?
That's right. Started out 309, eventually down to 294.9, and then they sold for 294.9 in 80 days. So that's a comparable property. Now, what would it be? What would ours? Ours is 2,440. Just to see. I'm curious. What would that number be today if I was using it? Now it's over 6 months old. So let's take what's that one? I'm going to use it 121. I'm optimistic. And times 2440, 295, 240. That's what that number is up there. So there's some evidence of 295. I got 289 or 290, close to 290 twice. I got a 294. So you see, I'm beginning to get a little more confidence. And I only have 3 pieces of data so far. And then these others there's 2,700 feet. That is within my range of size. It's comparable all the way down. But that is the one that I've told you guys about that we started out at $325,000 and she kept dropping it every week. $10,000 a week almost. There's the story. The stupid thing still shows up. It's the lowest comparable. Thank God it's over 6 months old now. We don't have to use it. But I mean, it had a room up above that was that you had to get with a real tight spiral staircase. So about 400 feet of it upstairs was not very usable. Hard access. You had to take chairs apart to get them up and down the stairs or get them up there. And your TV could only be so big you couldn't use it. So. And then she had a fire sale, $107 a foot was a fire sale, but she had to get moved before school started, and she, by God, was going to do it. So we just kept dropping that thing and fighting her, trying to keep her to maintain the price, because we said we're creating a comparable for these other people. They were on the market at the same time.
Exactly.
And it affected them probably. They could have probably gotten more than $120 a foot, but that comparable was in there. So, but anyway, we explained to that appraiser, and they called us and said, hey, here's what happened. She just flat discounted it until she was gone. She couldn't emotionally handle being on the market over 30 days. She was going nuts. So literally every week. So those two are comparable, but that one is not really comparable. That's a distressed sale.
Right.
And it makes no sense. Sold the same person the same month. Well, we did a month with each other. Obviously it sold first, because it was a giveaway. And so anyway, and that other house was already on the market when they came on the market. So these others though are there's 2460, that was 130 a foot. That was in 11 or 17, so that's all just right on the edge of 6 months. However, pool, yes. It has a magnificent, beautiful pool with a pool house. And that's not a comparable house. We don't have a pool or a pool house. So that's a $20,000 value probably in there. I don't know what the appraiser gave for it. You can't compare it because that $130 a foot will mess you up. So I don't have much good information, but I got some. I got one decently comparable there that maybe I can put my teeth in. It's right on the same street. So I say, okay, well, let's go look at another search. Let's pull up, let's see, what were the criteria? 250 to 350, 2100 to 2600, 0.6 acres or more, up to 2 acres, 3 or 4 bedrooms, 2+ baths, 3-car garage. And then they came up. And they are, averaging of the actives or unsolds of 127 to 124. Pendings are 127 is the average of those. And plus or minus, quite a bit of range there. And then the solds. What the numbers there, 127, 26. So you got several pieces of evidence here at 126, 27. What's that? So let me pull up my little calculator. Had it right in front of me. Okay, 2440 at what, 127? 3098. So now, where would you land just with that information so far? We had 290, kind of on the low end of these numbers so far. And 305 or 301, 309 is the top end. So that's the thing, Mr. Seller. Which house do you think you have here? You have one that needs quite some work and updating and so on and so forth. Probably going to be around 295, 290, or everything's been updated. It's Taj Mahal. It's fantastic, and maybe a top end of what 308, 309. Scale of 1 to 10. Your 1s are your 290s and your 10s are 310s. What do you think? And I know the house. It needs updates. It is not a 10. Nice house, clean, but not a 10. It's probably a 7 on a scale of 1 to 10. So now I'm not at 310 anymore. I'm probably not even at 350. I probably am around 300 in my mind. But there's where and then I haven't done my appreciation calculation yet. I really did it though. Well, they let's see, they paid, I think it's actually $199.9 in 2001. Let's just do the math. And I did some calculations.
2001?
Yeah, in 2001, and it actually, what part of 2001? If I got the month. Well, I had it a while ago on there when I pulled it
So
up.
are you gonna deduct the years that no appreciation?
Yeah. Yes. That's what he just
Yeah.
told us.
So how many years is it between 2001 and
17.
So
17 minus 4.
2006.
17 of them, minus 4. So
13 times 3.
So 13 and
At 3%.
you could take 3, that's probably conservative. Let's see what it is. What's 13 years times 3%? Hang on, let's just do that.
39,000.
13 times 3, I've got the mathematicians in the room, 39%.
Oh.
We went at 39%.
Right.
So they paid what? $199.9. $199.9.
Square root.
Square root of,
Square root.
plus 39%. And that throws you to 278.
How do you do plus that percent?
I just
Plus
did the
that
plus sign. Now you can do that, you can take, let's do it the other way.
So why would you not multiply?
Well, you
He
can,
did, and then he added it.
well, here,
It does it all.
let's see.
So
Well,
what brought you here, Mr.
199.
Lord? You're automotive.
Well, let's take 199 times 39% key. And that's $78,000. So you can take that plus 199.9. It's 278,000. So instead of doing that, I just take the number and put plus sign in my 39 and then percent key and equal.
But I like the $300,000
Did
number
you come
down.
up with the 277,861 somewhere?
Yeah.
Because I was trying to write.
Yeah, that's the number. I got 277,861 actually. Because I hit an extra 9 a while ago on the 199.9 and
Well, if I can sell it on that side, I think you need to ask more.
yeah. So here's the deal. What that probably tells us is we had more than in some of those years. And here what we did have in 6 and in 2006, 2005, 2004, we had more than 3% appreciation in those years. We were booming. We probably had 5 and 6% appreciation. So in my calculations, I took 16 years at 3%. Let's just take the average of 3% over the whole thing. 16 years, 16 times 3, well, 16 times
You don't
3,
lose 9%.
that's 48. So it's just, that's 48%.
So 200,000 times 48.
Yeah, 200,000 times 48%. Do it that direction. That's 96,000 extra dollars. Add to
That's perfect.
199.9.
295.
295, 296. So that's an appreciation calculation. It's within my 290 range. It's kind of in the middle there. So, but it's another number. Mr. Seller, these are probably a little concerned. I don't know. We're going to put it on the market and see if it sits or shows or sells. But ultimately, where do you want to start? If you got to get out of town this month, 290. If you've got 60 days to get out of town, maybe 297. If time is not a factor, maybe we give it a shot at 305. I love 300, actually, because I can catch the 300 and up in the 200 to 300 searches and catch a whole bigger group of people. But if I go $300,001, I miss all the people that are searching up to 300.
Right.
So there's where I'd love us to do. You know, ideally that'd be the sweet spot, but it's up to you. What do you think? That's this conversation. So the ultimate CMA is all this stuff. And so if I did that calculation and it wasn't coming up enough, I probably would take my 3% and anticipate that some of those years were more than 3 and just take the whole figure and it'll make my case. I don't have to be right. I just have to be close. And then go for
And
it.
it's a range, and it's like, we can start here, but you probably won't have to go any less than this.
Yeah, that's probably about right. You can say, fairly safe and say you're probably not going to have to go less than 290, 92, somewhere in there. This is probably the worst you could do with the amount of exposure we get. But the part of the CMA class is what's the urgency? What's the urgency? What's the objective in the timelines? Because the timelines factor in. It's worth 295 if you're in a hurry. It's worth 305 if you're not. How much of a hurry? When do you need it? Where are you going? And when do you need to be there? Do you want to make one move or two? How many dynamics do I need to fit together to make this work for you? And so if we've got to fit all this stuff together, we might need to be a little bit more aggressive with our pricing so we can make it all work. But anyway, well, I don't think I have anything much more to add to that.
I've got a question.
Yeah, Lisa.
On this appreciation number, you came up with 3%. Is it always going to be 3%? Where do you come up with that percentage?
Oh, Lisa. Oh, but I don't know if I can find, here it is. Oh my God, I think I found it. I think I found it without hunting forever. All right. Well, let's just take a look at the last 30-some years and see. Good grief. Is there any consistency to that? You can see we got, it's not exactly, you're right, Linda, Lisa. It's not exactly, from 289 to 2001, it went up at exactly the same amount all the way. And then it started kicking up a little more. See, here's my miscalculation on my numbers I just did. Because I wasn't factoring enough in during those years, and it came in low. But that's the thing. Now all of a sudden,
Print that sheet.
but that's where I'm coming from.
So
That trend right here is 3%. Then it wasn't 3%. Then it was less than 3%. And now we have another trend line that's tracking at about the same pace again.
So should we have not taken out those 4 years?
We did that first calculation.
But if we We missed, put those 40%, would have been a little bit closer.
Yes, well,
So you could average it.
I did, I mean, I just took over the whole period of time, and that's how I got a 295 figure. And otherwise, I got 278. And 278 is not defendable, none of the other numbers even come, there's no other 278s in there except E-Appraisal. E-Appraisal had a figure of 260 something. I threw it out. It was, I
So
didn't even-
245.
And that one's saying long-term average is 4%.
Yeah, right here. 34, I'm just saying, what would it have been it for?
Yeah.
If we took the, what was it, 13 years,
The third,
and let's just take the 13 years,
52%.
so 13 times 4, 52%. So if we take 199, that should be 200 plus 52%, key equals 3038. Now, that's what I'm saying, I'm kind of enjoying this camp, I'm a little conservative in my calculations at 3. But if you'd like to go ahead and use 4, I can certainly document that that's the historical average. And if you use the historical average, I can make the case for 303. But you see that is powerful to have that extra way of arriving at a number, because now I'm really confident right now in 300.
I have to ask, is
I'm
that
probably-
national?
Yeah,
So it's,
That's
That's not Oklahoma.
that's not Oklahoma, no.
So that's,
And you really have to have all those years to come
that's
up with the
closer to
long-term
minus
4.
Right. When you take it all of it added up,
Right.
it's 4.
But
But
if you
it
take a
does.
shorter window of time,
When did they buy it? But if you gotta use a figure, I use 3 to 4. 3 is what I use, because I am conservative with that number. But if I need to make the case, and I need to verify in front of a seller, listen, here's my calculation. I'm trying to come up with a number. It keeps landing somewhere between around 295 and 305. All kinds of calculations. In fact, even the appreciation, I don't know if you remember or not, you paid $199.9, 2001. And I've calculated the appreciation factor from that point to now. And it has added up to $52,000. And we don't know if that's right or not, but it happens to land at about 303. When I did my CMA numbers, it landed right at around 300. When I did my pulled Zillow, it said 290. When I did RPR, it said 291 or so, right in there. And they're probably a little bit conservative. So ultimately, I'm going to draw the conclusion somewhere in this close to 300, plus or minus.
Is there,
2 or 3%.
is there a graph just for Oklahoma?
No,
Because ours didn't go
Oh.
up 5.8%
yeah, here.
1 year.
We could go, let's go see what Oklahoma City's has. Let's just go to, let's go to these guys. You have these numbers. MLS, where are you? Right here. Let's go straight to here. Let's go straight to here. All right, fine. And then right, I messed up there. I should have went back to the, that's not where I want to go.
are you wanting market stats?
Right here. Market stats. Yes, thank you. Market stats. And let's look at sales prices from 2015. Or you could go back further, 5 years. 2013, this is what median prices did. They're up, I'm sorry, but 3%.
Now, is that just median sales price? Because that's not just, do you have to take into consideration the economy? Or like this month or this year, $300,000 houses sold a lot, where last year it was $200,000.
Yeah, it's just the overall market. Well, I mean, it's just a,
Play a factor, or does that matter?
probably factors in some. That's why you lean a little bit on your bigger tickets, 400 and up, lean on more on your MLS stats. Because But on your 250s and under, you can bank on this pretty good. But there's where I'm getting a 3% figure somewhat. It's 169 in May of 2018. It was 136 in January 2013. Well, let's go to May, August, July, May of 13, 149. So what month did you buy that house? Well, it was 150. Prices around that time were around 149. Today, those same houses are 169. That's about a 3% increase for the entire MLS. Now you can go to their town and pull up, well, just put the zip code in and see. So median there is about 9.6%, 73170. But that is an aberration. I mean, what were we? We were rounded here.
Is that Bigfoot?
I don't know what happened. Where were we? We were here 166, 169, so all of a sudden we're at 194 for some reason. So I don't know, but I mean, you can pull these things up and just kind of take a look at the trend. I don't know what the max is. Let's see what the maximum is. I haven't gone back that far. 2006, average sales prices trend line.
Can't call that accurate.
Median. Right here, I don't think I can count on that. But that's why I'm telling you, rule of thumb, this is not science.
3 to 4%.
3 to 4%?
And give us.
Over the trend, over the time period of several years.
You're a number person?
But at the end,
See, most people go, I don't care, just tell me what I'm supposed to price my house at,
right, and that's what I would do, though, probably about, if you tell me you need to be moved, or at least like to have a contract within the next 60 days, I'd probably tell you to put it at 300. And then,
299.
let's see what happens. In fact, I don't know, because if I put it at 299, I got people searching from 300 to 350, I won't catch them. So in the internet day, now in the old days I did 199.9 is whatever,
We
299.
don't do that now.
Not now, because the search range is, I'm excluding a whole bunch of people that are qualified to buy that thing because they're
At 3.
invisible. If they're not at 300, they catch the all the way up to 3 and the everybody over. What was I going to say? Oh, I know. The salvation is the last page. Sitting, showing, selling. No matter what you end up here, that's just all speculation. It's based on facts, as many facts as you can get. You're plus or minus better than 58%. You pull a number of different places. But at however you start, the marketplace is going to correct you at some point if you're wrong. And just acknowledge it. How wrong am I? Nobody's looking, they're more than 3% wrong. If they're looking, not buying, you're probably 1% or more wrong. So that's the conversation with the seller. Mr. Seller, and I noticed as I talked to you when we listed the property, I told you you were saying for showing yourself. Looks like we're showing. Our marketing's been pretty good. We've had quite a bit of traffic on it, but what I noticed is no offers. We've had 10 to 12 showings. Here's another one. Let's go to showings to pendings. And right now, let's take a look. Median showings to pendings. That's going back, way back there. Let's just go back here. And that's in that 73170 area, but showings to
I was
pendings.
right at 11.
Yeah, let's look at average. It's going to be higher. Yeah. 15 days, 11. So, medium of 11 showing we should have sold it. We're now on number 12, 13, 14, 15. We get past 15, we should have sold it. So we're getting no's at a pace of X number a week or a day. We need yeses. So let's correct it so we can get a yes. We're not far off, somewhere between 1% to 3%. So here's the script. Mr. Seller, I see that we're, according to what I'm measuring, we are getting quite a bit of traffic. We haven't had any second showings. We haven't had any offers. That usually to me translates to about a 1% to 3% margin of error as far as our pricing is concerned. I'm going to propose that we make an adjustment. Now, somewhere between 1% and 3%, what's your pleasure? What figure do you think they always tell me? Yes, thank you very much. All right, well, let's try 1% for 2 weeks. Let's see if it makes any difference. Because it might be we're off 3, and we can't wait forever to find it out, so let's take it a couple of weeks, see if it changes anything. If not, I'm going to come back to you and give another 1% here in 10 days. How's that sound? And that's, I just call it a nibbling. So ultimately, what worked for me is Susanna gave me this job, Betty, when I was doing this stuff every day. She said, we went out and overpriced that thing again, because I'm a little bit optimistic and you're a little pessimistic, and between the two of us, we both missed it. And she followed on. And so she said, when I call them, you're going to have to drop the price. So that's what I would call them, just say, hey, Susanna's asked me to call you. So she's been observing the marketplace.
Get caught back up.
And you recall when I was sitting at the table, I was fighting you guys a little bit on price. She's a very optimistic person, and I am most days, but when it comes to pricing, I'm a little pessimistic because I just think the buyers are. And so, but we must have missed it a little bit. Here's the good news, though. We are getting traffic. What that tells me is we're not more than 3% overpriced. So I would suggest we make some kind of a correction, 1%, 2%, or 3%, and let's give it a shot. Now, if you're in a bit of a hurry, I'd probably go ahead and adjust it 3%. But if you're able to, speculate a little longer here, what do you want to do? Not just put in a charge. But then the next call, if I'm still getting traffic, say, let's try another something different here. How about we offer to pay 1 or 2% in closing costs? So I didn't go back every time and say, drop your price, drop your price, drop your price. Every other time. This time, let's drop it 1%. Okay, well, that's not working. Can we then offer 1% in addition to that in closing costs? Well, that didn't work. All right, trade me the 1% in closing costs for a price correction. So I've only asked I've got to connect adjustments twice, but I've only made one call to drop a price. So I call it my stair-step thing, and I just stair-stepped them right into selling the house. But I would trade me that closing cost figure that's not working. Let me see if the price will help. And if it's a $2,000 price adjustment, it's $10 a day. That's all it's going to affect the buyer, so let's see if you'll buy it. But, so I was always going back to that. But that's all I did this day after day after day, just call these people and just say, listen, let's try this, let's try this, let's try this. But I was getting a 1 or a 2% concession every time, and then I trade it. So I didn't have to ask them every time to make another price adjustment. They didn't feel like they made a price correction. They just changed the terms, but they really did price adjust. That's what they did. They gave it to me, and then 2 weeks later, I'm gonna call them back and say, I'll trade you that for the price figure and see if that would help. And it just worked after a time, and we'd sell off at some point because they just. Now, someone would stop us and say, I ain't coming down another time. Okay.
You just bought your house.
Yeah, that's exactly what I say. We'll see if you're going to be the highest bidder. If you are in the auction. And so, I get started out with it a little bit too. But, that's the truth of the matter. You're in the auction. Right now, you're outbidding everybody so far. And, all right. Questions, anything like that. That's about as fast as I can go on this subject. And about as entertaining as it gets.
You were gonna do calculation.
Do one for you.
For her address.
The Linda Cox,
1304 Red Bud.
Red Bud
And that's in the Willows.
in the Willows. Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, let's just go, let me see if I can close the report. Let's go to this, let's just pull it up so I can get some facts. Heck, I'll just get facts from the RPR. Where's RPR?
It's in there.
I know. Let me just, where'd it go? I guess I don't have it here. I was just going to go back to RPR and not hunt it down.
We're not laughing at you. We're laughing at the screen.
Yeah, that's something. As entertaining as we can be. Okay, what's the address?
1304.
1304.
Red
Red Bud. More, is it Court?
bud, yes, that's it.
Right there. So this machine knows that it exists, and when I see that address pop up, it's legitimate. Now, the machinery here, you just start to write numbers down. Let's see. It's listed at 335. Yeah,
They came down 5,000 last week.
all right. 335 is actually what it's on, so we've already tested the market.
They've
Our
owned it for 10 years. It was brand new.
365, 760. So it's just numbers. I don't trust any of them. All right, fine, let's go to, okay, we got this one. Let's go to the appraisal and get our, PPR. I should have copied and pasted that. You have that address again, 13
4.
Red Bud.
Court.
It's just one more.
Is that Oklahoma City?
More.
No, it's more. 73160.
I don't know if I needed that or not, but we'll just put it in there and see what comes up. All right, there's where it is. Scroll down, and Zillow says 340. Appraisal, 336.5. All right, so you see I've got a 335, which I know is the asking, but I got 365, a 340, and a 336.5. I haven't done anything yet. There's no market analysis whatsoever. When did they buy it?
2008,
2008. What did they pay?
265.
265. All right, hang on. Let's see, 8. 10. Okay.
It's,
11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. I'm going to give it 10 years worth of
Yeah,
appreciation.
10 years minus 4, I guess.
All right, so let's take, pardon me?
Are you taking those 4 out?
Yeah, I took it out.
Or are you taking them?
Because he's conservative.
265 plus, let's see, what was that? It was, how many years did I say, 13?
Well,
10.
2000,
Yeah, so 10 for 30%.
yeah.
Is it 30 to 40%, but 30? We'll be conservative. So 265 plus 30%, 344.5.
344.5.
So appreciation
It's
calculation,
been showing, but no longer.
344.5.
I'm at 335.
Yeah, you can easily defend with all those numbers 335.
Yeah.
And I haven't done the CMA yet, but you see how much information I already have, and I haven't even pulled the open the MLS up yet.
Well, I
But
just
I got
wanted to make sure I had it priced right, but it's not, I'm not getting any offers.
I don't think that market's, I mean, it's a little hard.
Well, let's just,
The average in looking, is not, I can't say average. There are a lot more homes right now at the 260 to 295. They're like everywhere.
I know,
So what home is your house helping sell?
no, that's true. A lot of others, because I've got the feedback.
What's your feedback?
Well, they picked something.
Is it finishes?
Yeah.
Because it was built in 2005 and Marvin Hayworth kept it as a show home for 2 years. So they bought it
What's
and
wrong with 2005 houses?
what?
They're all Tuscan and.
This is
It's not,
country like, yeah.
It's more country-ish, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mhm. But the kitchens are smaller back then
That's-
than they are now,
That's
right?
been my complaint. The kitchens are galley kitchen. It's a galley kitchen. And it's too small. And I said, do you cook? Well, no.
is that every 1304 Redbird?
yeah,
Let's see the picture.
Red bud, yeah.
see what it looks like. Nice picture.
3-car, 3/4 acre.
Backyard's pretty.
Flo took the pictures over it
Yeah.
and
You've been
everything.
doing everything.
It's got a two pretty good sized ponds that are stocked. You can see one of them there.
Big.
And the galley kitchen, that's what everybody complains about.
Yeah, so right there.
And no place to put a microwave.
It's nice.
It's nice, it's really nice.
Nice house. It's a little narrow, but it's nice. It's a nice house.
I was on the market 38 or 39.
All right, well, it's been showing.
Mhm.
Well, you're in the ballpark, but you know.
What is that
Okay,
school
so the
district?
average.
The disc golf
The
club.
Santa Fe Plaza for the middle school.
What's the elementary?
Elementary is Highland.
That's what I've heard about the Willows, is people don't like the schools.
I was gonna say, you know, Vanessa,
I've heard that too, but just once.
I've heard that a couple of times. They're like, don't show me anything in the Willows.
It has the formal dining.
look at the space you've got. I mean, that's what most people would
Oh, they
want.
love the
Yeah.
yard, they love the 3/4 acre.
It's a nice property. And you're in the range, 40 days,
Yeah, I was thinking 39.
339, 335. So how long ago has it been that 335?
10 days.
10 days. So you're right at the edge and you had traffic. So, you're,
Well, somebody
You're close.
yourself, please.
that was a very tricky way for us to pull up our Lucy and create extra exposure.
See, I knew that, I had to make sure
Yeah.
that everybody knew about it.
Yeah, you can defend it, and I didn't have to CMA
That
to
was
do it.
pretty good.
Yeah. All right, well, I appreciate you guys coming. It's just the best way to do this is your way. But just thinking about, okay, what else could I do besides what I'm doing? And primarily, if you're in a competitive situation, you win because you just got more evidence. Number one. Number two, the most important other reason is you have more confidence. That's what I want you to walk in the door with, is a high degree of confidence in your numbers because you can back them up 3 and 4 layers deep, not just relying on one calculation, but 3 or 4. And basically just say, well, you can automate stuff that's agreeing with some of this, and then just be confident in your number. That way, then you make the choice. If they're not agreeing with you or fighting you on it or going for a new record, or what was the other term I used? Challenging the market, challenging the market. Then you have a business decision whether you want to participate or not. But at least you've got some high level of confidence in the numbers you're using. And so, worst case scenario, you'll have comparables, pick a figure and see what happens too. Yeah, there's a wild guess, once in a while it works. All right, guys, thanks for coming. That was fun.
Will you go over the,
Well, maybe I ask one person.
That concludes the ultimate CMA class, almost 2 hours. The broadcast is over.